Cool, we're live. Hello, everybody. So we're here today on Grail auctioning off a piece by Wes Henry today. So the piece has been live, and the auction actually ends in 10 minutes. So we're gonna just ask Wes a couple questions about himself and about the piece, and just get to know him a little bit. And we'll watch the auction live as it goes. But I guess to start it off, Wes, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about you and your art?
Sure. Hi everybody. My name is Wes Henry. This is my office, which is just my couch here in Denver, where I live. I'm from Chicago, just moved to Denver, and I'm a digital fine artist, is what I would consider myself. All types of styles. I've been doing the NFT game for about, I don't know, a year and a handful of months, so something like that. Um, and had a lot of success. So one of ones are very rare. Like I have tweeted out to people before, this is the last 101 that I'm going to put out until I um, drop on super rare. So this is a steal. As of right now, that's what's happening. I think we're at zero point 0.6 last time I checked, which is incredible. And it's not any like, oh no, it's a, good for the person who got that bid because you're you can relist that and make some good money, even though this market is brutal. So no matter what, it's a thank you. So a little bit about the piece itself. So like I said, digital fine art. So I work in Procreate on an iPad right right here in my office, and so it's just an Apple Pencil, and I'm replicating essentially in this piece oil painting. So that was traditionally what I was in analog media, I guess you could call it. And I love doing portraits. When I was a kid, my first job was as a caricature artist at Great America, which was insane, like a Six Flags theme park thing in Chicago. Um, so I actually learned a lot there. I was the youngest by like 5 years. I was still in high school when this guy hired me. So it was a very strange job working with these amazing artists, but I'm at like a carnival setting, and it was really weird. But I think a lot of those things laid the foundation for what I like and what inspires me. So not that this is not a caricature in any way, but you really break down the human face, and portraiture specifically getting features correct and proportions correct, and especially in this instance wanting to portray beauty. And so what this piece is called unfinished, what I'm attempting to portray here is kind of the juxtaposition between how just a stroke on a piece of paper, in this instance, like, obviously it's digital, but how that can turn into such an intricate, beautiful face. So it tightens up a lot in the eyes. I spend a lot of time rendering those, and around, in this face of this beautiful woman that I saw once, just browsing around. I mean, I get inspired from everything, Instagram feed to Google to anything, and saw her face and knew I needed to paint her. Yeah, there it is right there. Uh, and so I wanted to just render that. It's all that I knew that I wanted to do. And as you can see, she's gorgeous. So once I got to there, I wanted to show, like, I don't want this to be some finished perfect thing where, it's paint to the edge of the canvas type of thing. I didn't want that. I wanted to show that, it's almost like the building of it, right? There's even like sketch lines of, the original like blueprints that I leave first when I start one of these pieces to kind of build up, and then I paint with light, right? Like, so I start with dark layers and I paint lighter, and it looks like it's coming towards you, and that's how you render a piece. And then around that, I wanted to kind of allude to Clint, who's one of my favorite painters. So that kind of, portrait style that's cut here, where it could be, it's kind of alluding to a hairstyle or some kind of adornment on the head that I think is really beautiful for whatever reason, that shape that it makes around the head. and I've seen that in other artists, and I don't even know what it is or how to explain it, but I agree with it, whatever that choice is, and yeah, tried to replicate that. So I'm gonna pause there and make sure if there's a tweet, I'm gonna retweet it really quickly, and then I'll be back in 1 second. How's that? Just to make sure. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Oh, no, I was muted. Yeah, I can still hear you. No, that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for sharing. I feel like a lot of the times with art, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just you draw what you feel and what you think looks good. And I think this piece speaks a lot of beauty. And so it's absolutely amazing. And so I'm curious, I didn't know you drew in Procreate. And so it looks like when I had originally looked at your art, my interpretation was that you hand painted a lot of it and then you scanned it in. And so what was your transition into digital, or were you always into digital, and how did that look like for you?
So, I've been doing traditional art. I mean, but first off, that's what I'm going for, right? I'm not going to make something look digital. I'm trying to emulate as closely as possible the traditional medium, whether that is watercolor, charcoal, black ink. Like I really do a range of mediums, and I'm trying to kind of master them all. And I don't just stick to one thing, one subject matter, one style. But so that happened over, I mean, the course of my life. When I was a young kid, I was always in all the art classes, was always like the artist kid in school and all that stuff. And then went to college and took a break from that and became a philosopher and wanted to be a professor. So that's what I majored in. And then I got out of there and I was like, you know what? Wearing like a three-piece suit and teaching in a stuffy classroom in college. I don't know if that's for me. I think I can make like more money and have more fun and more freedom going into visual art. So I didn't even know what, and I just bought the Adobe Creative Suite book and taught to myself in my parents' basement right out of college and learned like Photoshop, Illustrator, all that stuff. So that's where I got really into digital. It's more design than art, and there are, in my opinion, a lot of very clear differences between those two fields and those two feelings of creation. And so I got deep into that world and went into advertising, which is where all the money is. That's where you get a job doing that. And so worked my way up from like designer, art director, senior art director into like creative director is kind of the end of the road where you reach the top. And I did that for a really long time, and it was fun. It was a great job. And then in the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I haven't done like art for art's sake, something for myself in a long time. So I got a lot of free time. Everyone did. So I thought, I'm going to be constructive about this. So I just started what's the quickest way to get into this and not, I live in a condo still now. In Chicago, I did too. So it's a small space. So having like a studio like I have had before for oil painting and things it didn't quite make sense. So I don't do a ton of physicals right now, but I will in the future. But so I was like, all right, the easiest way to do this is going to be an iPad and Procreate. So I got into there and taught myself that. And then I started just posting it on Instagram to see if anyone liked it. And you can see my progress. Like my first post on Instagram is just like a line drawing of like a giraffe or something. I was just testing the tools out. And then it started getting pretty crazy pretty quickly. A lot of celebrities pouring in, and NFT world came, and I was like, oh my God. And so then I started really, instead of it being a little side thing, I devoted a lot of time to it. And now it's a full-time situation. And that's my only hope is to continue that way.
That's an amazing story. I have to say, it's pretty impressive that it started out as like something that you were just trying to get into for the sake of it. And I was looking at your Instagram and your Twitter earlier, and you've accustomed like a lot of followers. So congrats on being able to, you know, pursue what you want to, but also make a living out of it and have it that recognition, because that's not always easy. But really quickly, I wanted to come back to the bidding screen right here because it looks like we have another bid, and it's actually we have 4 seconds remaining, and
Uh,
and I think it's gone. There it goes. It's sold for 0.65.
there
Congrats.
we go.
That's amazing.
Congratulations to the person that got it. Thank you. Congratulations to me because anything that sells in this market is amazing.
You're
But what a steal.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Congrats, Wes. This is a beautiful piece and super excited to chat with you here and to be able to see this piece go live. And oh, also for the person who had won the bid, just important to let you know, just because of the way that it was listed, you just had to send the money over to graillive.eth and then they will send you the NFT. So I will post that over in the comments. Can I do that?
And whoever it is, if I don't know you already or if you haven't DM'd me already, go ahead and do that because I want to meet you as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I'm just trying to see if I can send this. I don't see a chat function for everyone that I can send, but that is okay. It's just Grail, so where the auction was, live.eth. And then you can send the money over to them and they will send you the NFT. But Wes, before we close, I'm not sure how much time. Oh, there it is. There's it was just posted, so you can send it over there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap up here. I'm super curious to see, because I know you had mentioned this is your last one of one before you drop on Super Rare, which congrats for getting on Super Rare. That's huge. Um,
Thanks.
you're welcome. So what do you have planned next for the next couple months?
So, well, I have a couple more drops this week. I am trying to kind of, I think two collector bases. There's one that is, lower entry. Yeah, people don't want to take huge risks, especially, in this market, people that are either collecting it to resell it or something like that. So I have this collection called West World, which I just did a piece, which is my, profile pic on Twitter now that I changed it to that Snoop Dogg just um whatever like reposted my thing on Instagram and so he's always
Yeah.
been a good supporter and I basically made it in the light of him like it's kind of like a gangsta piece from like and Snoop and those guys that do a lot of like urban shit and so he's always been a big supporter. So that piece itself is part of that collection that goes for a much lower price and a larger volume on the West World collection. And then in my Wes Henry collection, I have my first AI and Wes Henry collab piece. So I'm using Midjourney AI and creating a piece of art and then using that as inspiration to make another layer of art on top of that. So that's kind of a first of its kind. I think I'll drop that this week. We'll see how things go. The other one, the Westworld one, the skull, definitely will. I think I'm going to drop that tomorrow, and people are already kind of asking about it. So that's like an immediate next steps, and then long term, who the hell knows? And also, super rare is going to be a really big deal. A lot of my Zen stuff, I'm working on animating some of those things, and I think I have a very unique look and unique pieces that are going to go on that platform that I think people are going to love.
That is amazing, and that all sounds super, super exciting. I'm curious. So right now you've been primarily on ETH, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
ever plan on expanding to other blockchains, and like, what are your thoughts on that as an artist?
So yeah, ETH has been, my tried and true since day one. Even regardless of the platform, and then OpenSea is kind of where the success was an explosion. But I've had drops on other platforms as well, and done well there. But I like the fee structure on OpenSea the most because you can be just completely autonomous and you're in charge of everything, and they just take a tiny little bit, and it's that relationship is my favorite thing about NFTs in general too. You
Mhm.
don't need anyone. There is no, middleman per se. It's just the artist and the collectors, and that is it. And so it's really elegant and beautiful. And ETH is about to, do this merge, so we'll see how that goes. I know everyone is kind of holding their breath for that, and I'm really hoping that it's going to change things for the better, make things more efficient, make things more, I guess, cost-wise efficient as well as energy. And so I think the future is really bright on there. I would consider Solana, of course, I think that's a front runner that I see on OpenSea. So it's kind of like when I see it actually doing something, then I can believe in it because I mean, I'm not smart enough to read about all of these things and do my own research on all of it. There's too much. It's too much information. And then I have a couple artist buddies that have some other chains that they've told me things about that I won't call out here, but I'm thinking about. So who knows what the future will bring, but for right now, I think ETH is the answer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes when you're an artist, you're so focused on creating art, it's hard to like spread yourself so thin into the tech side of things, right? Like that's an issue that I face too. It's like you just kind of want to do the art and that's it. So I
Yeah.
definitely feel you on that. And I know you talked about the merge real quick. I wanted to ask you, as an artist, how do you think this is going to affect you? Because I know some people are talking about, people selling and people buying ETH and the value going up and down and all this stuff. So in terms of NFTs and art, what do you think that will do for you? Just curious to know your thoughts.
I mean, it's tough to say. I think I could make an argument for one thing, and I can make an argument for one thing, and it is a 50-50 shot as to what is going to be right. People make, you know, declarations about what's going to happen, and people forget when they're wrong, and they're like, "I told you," when they're right. So it's like I'm not even going to attempt to say anything. All I can say is what I said before, which is efficiency. So gas prices coming down. I mean, when things were selling like crazy and everything. I mean, I had big drops that were selling out really, really fast, and people were upping their gas to more than the price of the piece by a considerable margin to be able to get it first before it sold out because it would sell out in like 1 second. I think some of that is insane that happens. Even like the Bored Ape thing, where them in like a day or something, there was like I don't know how many millions of dollars in just transaction fees. So I think people are kind of over that because you see a lot of these other chains and they're so much more efficient and cheaper, and you're like, well, why does it have to be like this? So I'm hoping that gets ironed out, but beyond that, I do not know. But
That's
I
fair.
what so I will say though, even though technically I have no idea, like I just said, the only thing I know for sure was what I'm going to do, which I'm going to continue to get better, make more art, put it out there for people. Anyone that loves collecting my stuff, I love you. They're able, I'm able to be a full time artist because of them. So I appreciate the support, like I appreciate the winner of this bid. And anytime I'm able to sell any creation that I've made, it's humbling and it's beautiful, and it'll never not be that. And I'm going to um, I hopefully be able to support myself and do this day in and day out until the day I die. If I'm not able to support myself doing this, I still will do it until the day I die. But until then, I keep my artist hat and my business hat on as well to make sure that my collectors are taken care of. So, thank you everybody for collecting anything if you have.
Aw, I love that. Those are beautiful words. And I think with all the success that you've come up to from now, you're going to do great in the game and in the NFT space. So I wish you the best of luck. And before we close out, I actually have one more question that just came to me as we
Sure.
were talking. Um, because I know we have to close out soon, but you mentioned Snoop Dogg supporting you and him reposting your piece, which is amazing. And I know in your Twitter bio, you mentioned that you worked with Snoop, Busta Rhymes, Deepak Chopra, and a bunch of other names. So, if you had a dream celebrity person that you could work with or for, who would that be?
That's really tough. I mean, I think I'd go with like a Jay-Z or somebody that I love the hip hop world with all my heart, and someone like that who's just such a dominant force. And I've seen what he's done as an artist. Um, any artists in their own right who are fans of artists in other places and support all the art together, like Snoop does, like Busta does, like um, a lot of those artists currently do. Um, I think he is always trying to do crazy things and change the game and do wild things. And I would have even said before this, Logan Paul, when we did a collaboration, because he's a massive name, and I did fight art for him for his Mayweather fight, and the fight got postponed because of COVID, and then all the insanity from NFTs kind of was much lower when the actual fight happened, so we didn't even drop it, which was a huge bummer. But the other, I guess, person beyond that, that's not I would say artist, or I guess he is because he's done some drawings and stuff for some of his V collection would be like a Gary V.
Mm.
Just people that are in the space doing massive things, or like an Elon Musk, someone that is just this unbelievably dominant person that one tweet and the SEC comes after them because they're just so powerful with whatever they're saying. They can sway markets. It would be insane. But yeah, I don't know if Elon Musk is going to do that anytime soon.
Well, I can see you continuing doing some really sick collabs. And in terms of the one with Logan Paul, I mean, at least now you have that connection. Who knows what will come in the future of it, right? But yeah, thank you for that answer. That makes me really excited to follow along on your journey and see what you're going to do in the future. But just wanted to thank you for coming up and doing an auction with Grail. And congrats again for selling your piece.
Thank you.
Of
Thanks for
course.
having me.
Of course, and everyone make sure to give Wes a follow. Wes, I believe, if you want to say your Twitter I can't remember it off the top of my head. So
Just Wes Henry Art.
Cool.
At Wes Henry Art. That's it.
Easy, easy. Okay, cool. Everyone make sure you give Wes a follow and be sure to check back on Grail for the next auction. All right. Bye, Wes. Thank you again.
Thank you.